Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. Let's talk about coffee consulting. Over the next couple of episodes, we're going to talk about being a coffee consultant, whether you should be a coffee consultant, how much you should charge, if you should hire a coffee consultant, how you go about doing that, and all the fun stuff in between. All right, so let's start with today talking about, should you become a coffee consultant? With the coffee industry in 2020 shifting the way that it's been shifting, and a lot of people being put out of work, a thing that seems to be propping up, and we can definitely see this through the search traffic on our website. There are a lot of people being drawn to the articles and the podcast episodes that are around coffee consulting, and particularly the article that we have that I'll be updating in the next week or so. That is, should I become a coffee consultant? And so I thought, given that this is a trend that seems to be happening, I might talk a bit about coffee consulting and what it means to do that, and how much you should charge, and what are some of the interesting elements of being a coffee consultant. And I want to start by saying the term coffee consultant is an incredibly vague title. And so I don't call myself a coffee consultant. I am a coffee small business consultant. And that is because my very specific skills, while I know a lot about brewing and a lot about running a bar and all of that kind of stuff, and I have knowledge about the value chain and all of that kind of stuff, my superpowers are in small business, particularly in the coffee industry. And so my specific niche as a coffee consultant, that's in rabbit's ears, coffee consultant. But my specific niche is as a coffee small business consultant. I help people organize their thoughts, come up with business plans, come up with branding strategies, understand how they're going to put all the different elements together to have long-term, viable, successful businesses. And that is what I do as a consultant. The term coffee consultant could mean many, many things. And what I hear from people who call or message and say, hey, so I want to be a consultant, or somebody has contacted me and wants me to be a coffee consultant. The first question I ask is, what do you mean by a coffee consultant? And that's the first roadblock that people encounter. So if you are thinking about becoming a coffee consultant, I'd like you to consider exactly what it means to you to be a coffee consultant and further define that. So bring it into a niche. So start by looking at what your qualifications are. Are you a barista? Are you a manager of a cafe? Are you a roaster or a warehouse manager or a green buyer, or whatever it is? What are the qualifications that allow you to step into the role of a consultant? And be very clear on what your superpowers are. Be very clear on what kind of knowledge it is and what experience you have that you can impart as a consultant. Now, the role of a consultant is to fast track somebody's journey into learning about something. You're imparting your knowledge so that they can fast track where they're trying to get to. You being able to organize all of those qualifications and those thoughts so that you can help somebody get to where they're getting to quicker is super important before you start putting yourself out there as a consultant. So it's important for you to write down what are the deliverables that I can give to a client who is hiring me as a certain kind of coffee consultant, whether it be a coffee roasting consultant or a coffee business consultant or a beverage menu consultant, whatever it is that is your forte and is your superpower. Get a very clear understanding of what the deliverables are once somebody hires you. Then the next step is, how do you structure how your consulting and the deliverables around that consulting are going to work? So to use me for an example, we have different types of consulting that happen through Map It Forward, and they all have different price ranges. And in the next episode, we're going to talk about how to price out your work as a consultant. But in Map It Forward, we have coffee roasting consulting, and that's not done by me because I'm not a roasting specialist. That's done by people that we bring in right now. That's Ann Cooper, and Ann Cooper is fantastic, and we've got a long-standing relationship with her that we will go deep into the future because I've never seen anybody be able to explain coffee roasting the way that Ann does. She talks about coffee roasting and people just get it immediately. That's her superpower. And the way that Ann structures her consulting is in a very specific way. When she's doing the consulting with Map It Forward, it's through group coaching. And we have a specific way, or Ann has a specific way of the way that people come into the group coaching, the mastermind group coaching. They come with questions every session, twice a month, and it's structured. So everybody that comes to the meeting knows exactly how that's going to flow. Because we've been able to manage people's expectations, they know what they're coming in with and they know what they should be leaving each session with. When I'm doing my one-on-one coaching, it happens twice a month with my monthly coaching clients. It's one-on-one, goes for 2 hours each session. And we start off by getting a general understanding of, at the beginning of the journey together, it starts for a minimum of 3 months. People know that up front. You can't really achieve anything with monthly business coaching for any less than that. And you can usually get everything that you need to get done within 3 months. But the journey goes for 3 months, and we start off by getting an understanding of the journey so far. Where are people at in their business journey? Where are they trying to get to? And then we lay out a plan of where things are going to go for the next few sessions. Then we reassess and figure out where it's going to go from there. But people come into each session knowing what their homework was from the last session, and knowing when they leave, knowing what their homework is for the next session, what it is they need to think about and work on. And they've got usually more action items than they can deal with. But that's great. That's stuff that will keep them moving forward. That's the one-on-one sessions. The mastermind group coaching for business owners takes a completely different structure than that. People come to the group, they've got they've been given something to ponder, usually from the couple of days before that. And we have that thing that we as a group ponder, and we discuss that together. And that usually leads us into a 2-hour discussion between a group of 6 people that mostly runs over 2 hours. But everybody takes from that far more than they could have expected. The important thing about these different kinds of consulting is that even though they're structured differently, there is a structure to them that everybody understands that they're going to, what the outcome is going to be. And when you've got that structure, then everybody feels that there's value going into it. Once you've got the structure, you've got to know, everybody that's involved needs to know what the intended outcome is. So if you are a coffee menu consultant going into a consulting situation, you should know what the structure of the consulting is going to be, but you and your client should be very clear on what the intended outcome is. Is the intended outcome that you will write a beverage menu for that business, or is the intended outcome that you will help them come up with a bunch of different ideas with one signature drink and then ongoing reviews after that? There's many different ways that this can be structured, and it's important for both of you to be clear on what the outcome is. Knowing also what your responsibility is. Now, why is this important? When people hire you as a coffee consultant, and this is a big part of what concerns me about the enormous number of people that call themselves coffee consultants. When somebody is paying you with their money and their time to guide them along their journey as a business or as a professional, they are trusting you. And the responsibility that they're placing on you with that trust should be taken very seriously. And your responsibility is to deliver. I would say it's to over-deliver, but that's just my values as a consultant. I need my clients to feel like they got far more than they paid for before I'm happy in what I've delivered. I take the responsibility of the trust that they've placed in me extremely seriously. And you can see that from the testimonials that we have on the Map It Forward website from clients who have either come to workshops or been a part of the group coaching, one-on-one sessions, all of it. Excuse me. The responsibility that I feel for people's success as a consultant is a part of the service that we deliver. And so until they're happy, I'm not happy. I see a lot of consultants that are doing jobs that they're not qualified for. And what I mean by that is I see people helping new cafe owners open cafes when they themselves have never been business owners themselves. They've never opened a cafe. They've worked as a head barista. But guys, it's so important to understand how dangerous that can be. And the reason that's dangerous is because a coffee consultant should be primarily able to point out the intended blind spots that the client should be anticipating. And if you haven't done the thing that you are consulting on before many, many times, then you will not be able to anticipate any of the blind spots that people should be able to see coming. And you're doing your client a disservice. In the next episode, we're going to be talking about cost structures for different consultants. Please, if you are considering becoming a coffee consultant, consider first of all calling yourself the specific kind of consultant that you are. And second of all, don't overpromise on what you can deliver. By being very specific on the things that we've talked about in this episode, understanding what your qualifications are and being able to communicate that, knowing what your deliverables are to your client and being able to understand that for yourself, having a structure behind the way that consulting sessions will work, knowing the outcome and being able to communicate that with your client, and taking very, very seriously the responsibility of what your job is as a consultant. Being able to take all of this stuff into consideration will help you better understand what kind of a role and how you will operate as a coffee consultant. I really hope that this has been helpful for you if you are considering becoming a coffee consultant. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.